Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse. Today we're going to try to turn our React project into a progressive web app. I've just upgraded to Next 7.0.1, and that's probably the only change that's happened to this project since the last time I streamed, other than I did merge a few pull requests. I know some of you are getting those Hacktoberfest PRs in, so thank you for everybody who's helped out on that. And yeah, I think, what did I do? Yeah, so I've been at the Advanced React training with Ryan Florence. So I'm thinking I might make a video recap of what I learned there and put that on my YouTube channel. So if anybody's interested in seeing that, you can check out my YouTube channel. The link's in the description of this video. I'd like to get that done within the next day or two before I start to forget things. And also I want to thank everybody who has been helping out and sending me job openings. I have 3 interviews coming up in the next 2 days and 1 phone call with a recruiter. So a lot of stuff happening. And I have 2 more interviews that are need to be scheduled. So they're most likely going to happen. We just haven't set a date yet. So as of right now, that I'm thinking 5 interviews will be happening in the month of October, and I'm still waiting to hear back from a lot of companies. So anyway, thanks again. All your advice and your links to jobs and things have been super helpful, and I'll keep you all updated as everything happens with that. Okay, let's get started. Let me flip my screen here, and if you're new, feel free to ask questions as we go along. I'm going to take breaks periodically and go back to the live chat and answer questions, so just be patient with me, and I will eventually get to your questions. Okay, so nothing to see right here for now. Let me bring over that Lighthouse audit, and we can start from there. So if you've never used Lighthouse, I'll give you a little overview. So if you go into DevTools, let's make this bigger, much bigger. Okay. So if you open up DevTools, which you can do by just, I mean, there's multiple ways I guess you could get there. There's a keyboard shortcut. I can never remember what it is, but you could also just right-click and go to Inspect. It'll pop open these DevTools, and then up at the top, if you click on Audits, it'll take you to the audit page, and you can run different audits for site speed, accessibility, search engine optimization, and you can also run one for a progressive web app. So this is what I've just run, and I got a 64. Okay, so not really a good score. So number 1, I'm not registering a service worker, and that's a big deal. You need a service worker for a progressive web app. So that's where we're going to start, is making sure we get that service worker registered first. After that, then we can look at some of these other issues about having the proper icons and things like that. You can see some of the other stuff we actually have already. And I'm just going to show you this so that you all know what's needed. Cross-browser, right? We have that. Some of these are just basic that you usually do for a site anyway. Let's see. Each page has a URL. We do have at least some content, even when JavaScript's not available. We have SSL, so we use HTTPS. We redirect HTTPS. We have fast load times, even on a 3G network. The address bar matches brand colors. That's interesting. I didn't know that was the thing until just now, so that's kind of cool. We have a meta viewport tag. Content is sized correctly for the viewport. Okay, so all those things are checked here in Lighthouse for a progressive web app. And there's a lot of links to learn more as well. So this is pretty helpful. It should tell you everything you need to know. The shortcut is Control-Shift-I to bring this up. So thank you, Wararu. Waru. I'm sorry I'm mispronouncing your name, but anyway, thank you so much for the shortcut, and that's on Chrome. I do want to say, I see a lot of people saying hi, so I just want to say hi to everybody. I'm not going to go individually since there's so many, but let's get started. And first, what I want to do is let's go back to our code. And I'm doing this on a separate branch. So I made a separate branch to install the latest version of Next in case it broke something. So this is not on master. And I'm just going to keep going with all our changes on the same branch. And then if everything works, we can merge it back into master, hopefully at the end of the stream if we get it working. Obiot says we could use F12 as well. Okay, cool. All right, so let me bring over some documentation as well. Here we go. And I'm going to paste a link to this. So I just pasted this link in there so you can read this documentation too. But I was doing a little research and this seemed to work. So there's been an open issue on the GitHub repo for Next.js for at least a year. And the issue has been about offline support so that you could do progressive web app stuff. So this was one of the latest entries, one of the latest posts on that long thread. And it's supposed to generate a service worker that can help Next to work offline. And somebody else tried it and it worked for them, so I'm going to try it as well. So it says down here that there's been some updates for Next 7, so that's why I thought, you know what, I better upgrade to Next 7 beforehand. So now that we've done that, let's install this, see what we need to do to get it working. So what is this? Next offline? Okay, cool. So let's go back here. Let me make this a bit bigger for everybody. And we're using yarn, so we're going to do yarn add next offline. And you can do this, of course, with npm as well. So that shouldn't take very long to install. While that's doing its thing, let's look at the first step. So we need a next.config.js, which I think we already have. So let's double check that we have that. And we have a jest config. Do we not have a next config? I guess not. Okay, so we're going to have a next config. Okay, it's Waweru. I'm pretty sure you told me how to pronounce that before. I'm really sorry that I didn't remember it. Waweru. I'm going to try really hard to remember. Okay. Let's copy and paste this now. And hopefully this is finished. Yep, it's finished. And let's make, in our root here, a new file. We'll call it next.config.js. And we'll paste what we just have here. So we're requiring next offline, and we're exporting next offline, or with offline. So let's save that. We'll go back over. We already have a server.js file, so we need to integrate this into our existing server.js. So I don't think we'll be able to just copy and paste this. Let's see. Also, you can add your custom Next.js configuration as a parameter. Okay. Let's see what we're doing here. Create server. Let's see where they're actually adding in with offline. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't actually see them using this anywhere. Let's check out our server.js file and see what's there. Our server.js file is unusually long and needs to be refactored, but we're not going to do that today. So let's check out what we're doing. Let's see. Okay, so we are checking for a service worker. Okay, it looks like we only have it in this spot. Okay, so if the route is service worker.js, we are skipping a lot of our custom logic, which I believe that's what we ought to be doing, and we're falling back on next. Now, I'm not 100% sure that's what we should be doing. Oops, sorry. Doing a lot of scrolling here. I forgot we had this giant object at the bottom. Okay, this is our caching. Let's see. All right, so let's compare search static, listen. Okay, so we have this if path name is service worker. Trying to figure out where exactly we need to put this. Interesting. App.search static. Okay, I'm gonna look back just to see if anybody's commenting anything about this code. Okay. You know what? I forgot to start up my Pomodoro timer, so I'm just going to keep an eye on the time so I know maybe in another, let's say 10 minutes, I'm going to go back and answer some questions in the live chat. So just hang in there for about 10 more minutes. I'll set this timer for 10 minutes. So I'm thinking we may be able to take some of this. I guess I should double check and make sure that everything still works before we take another step. It looks like it works. Okay. Let's make sure we have path name equals parse URL. I don't think we're using the same names for some of these variables, so we need to find the equivalent. Okay, so app, next directory dev. Let's take, we don't need to do this right now. Let's comment these out. We left these in from a previous thing we were going to implement, and I never took them out. So let's just comment these out for now. Next required, next. So, apps, next. Okay, so app should still be the same. Server. let's take all of this. Let's just take this out. Let's take all the Salesforce stuff out. This file is already long enough. Okay. Realistically, I don't think I'm going to be at this position long enough to even implement that, so I'm going to take that out. And if they ever want to put it back in, it's already in GitHub. Okay, so we're at server.git. Alright, so this is all this custom logic that we've done, but what we really need is what's getting just like passed on. So at some point, we're just passing things on to next and saying, okay, next you just handle this. Rendered HTML. Okay, apt. URL true. Okay, so here we have URL, and we're using that as the cache key. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what all this is. We made this so long ago. Cache key. Handle app request, get requested handler. Okay. Let's put in. Let's try to put some of this in here. Oops, I didn't mean to take that much out of here. All right, let's get rid of that. Okay. I'm hoping that's what I need. Looks like join is not defined and parse is not defined. Okay, let's see what we forgot. There we are. Alright, let's put these in. See if that fixes everything. Getting weird errors. No weird errors. I'm getting a new warning when I upgraded that we shouldn't have title tag in document.js. So I'm not sure where we're supposed to put it, but I guess that's not. It's not. Now they're showing a warning. Before they weren't. Okay. Let's check our page here. Let's see if we have. I'm going to go to localhost to check this. And just click around. Okay, it works. Try some other pass. Okay, we'll go back home. Alright, that works. Let's check in the console to see if we're getting errors. Okay, we're getting some extra stuff here about service workers. So we should be able to check out our service workers here and see. Okay, so for localhost, test a push message. Okay, so we have something going on here with a service worker. So to test this, let's put in what? I'm trying to remember the command for this. Gcloud, yeah. Oops, you know what? I have this in my package.json, so let's check out the package.json. I don't want that right now. I don't want that. And our package.json, we have test deploy. Alright, yeah, let's do test deploy. So that way we'll deploy to Google App Engine, and we'll get a test URL, but it won't push to our main URL. So the reason we want to do this is because when we're running this on localhost, we're not going to get a true progressive web app experience, right? The service worker is not going to work as we want it to. So let's do yarn. What was it called? Test deploy. Check the time. Okay, so while this deploys, I'm going to start answering some questions. And let's go 5 minutes of answering questions. And I accidentally started that video. So at some point I'm going to have to hit the enter key, but other than that, that should just do its thing. Okay, I'm scrolling all the way up to the top, and I'm going to just go through as many questions as I can. I doubt I'll be able to get through all of them in this 5 minutes, so the rest will have to wait till the next break. Actually, a lot of the messages are just telling me I had no sound at the beginning. Let's scroll through those. Let's see. Okay. And about the other half of the messages are people just saying that it works now, the audio works. Okay. Ibrahim says, hello, can you hear me? I'm in California dreaming about who we used to be. Thank you for that. That was nice. Ririn says, please teach me about programming. Yeah, if you have any specific questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. Yasmin says, I can't understand. Please be clear and brief. Yeah, I'll do my best to explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it, and feel free to ask any questions that you have, and I'll do my best to answer those. Pink says, what this guy does is pretty advanced in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, advanced is relative, right? So to a beginner, this might seem advanced. To somebody who's been doing it for a while, this might not. So and we are all over the place. So sometimes we do really basic stuff, and sometimes we do advanced stuff. Israel says, I'm new to programming, and this seems huge. Yeah, this project we've been working on since like December or January. So it has a lot to it, but it's to be expected. We've been working on it for a long time. Zhang says, hello, Jesse. Good to see you again. It's good to see you too. Thanks for joining us. Um, Lambs Tech says, Pomodoro timer. Yes, I'm using a Pomodoro timer. Okay, Harshit saying, um, good to see you, Harshit. Glad you're here. But Harshit saying, don't directly copy that code. It is meant for vanilla Node. Instead, use server.git. Your using is expressed there. Sorry. Israel says, I need interactive WhatsApp coaching lessons too, please. I currently don't do any interactive coaching lessons. Maybe I should think about doing something like that. Okay. All right, Harshit's put in some code here for me to use, so I'm gonna, as soon as the timer's up, I'm gonna check that out. Jay says 243 lines. The biggest code I ever wrote was 80 lines, so I haven't even started a code from the look of it. Yeah, I don't know. We have a lot of code. We've been working on it for a long time though, so don't be discouraged. Um, Somebody just asked what a web. Okay, Drew asked what a web app manifest is. It's just a set of instructions to tell, I guess, like the phone, like what logo to use, what title to use, what splash screen, what colors to use when you are loading a progressive web app on a phone. Harshit says next offline automatically generates service worker and prod. Let's see. Okay, that was in response to Michael Creel. Michael had said you might want to make the service worker JS file first, and Harshit saying it automatically generates it. Yeah, so we shouldn't have to do it ourselves. XDS, how old are you? I am 32, and I will be 33 at the end of this month. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the code. And I'm going to remember to start my timer this time. So in 25 minutes, I'll go back to the chat. And we should have a URL. I guess not. We should soon have a URL, but I'm going to go back and check based on what Harshit was putting in the chat and check and see how badly I may have messed this up. Let's see, server get service worker JS service request. Server get. Oh, you know what? Actually, this ended up working. So since I didn't copy and paste the whole thing, I ended up putting it inside a server get anyway. So it's a little bit different. So what Harshit was saying is just get that service worker JS, and instead this is getting everything that has been passed through, which our service worker JS should be passed through since we were passing it through up above. So since that's going to pass through, instead of checking for it here, we just check for it down here, right? Because our path name is our parse URL. Our parse URL is just the URL that we would have been able to get through here. So this should be the same thing. Harshit, let me know if it's not, but I believe it will end up at the same result. Okay, let's see. Here's our URL. And what we do when this URL loads for our test site, and I'll paste it in here so y'all can check it out if you want. When it loads, I'm going to do another Lighthouse audit. And let's see if anything has changed in regard to the service worker. Where am I at? Audits. Alright. So you can do all these audits, but since we're just testing progressive web app, it'll take a lot less time if we only check for this. But you can check for them all at once if you want. So we're going to run those audits. And while we're waiting, I'll check the live chat. Hamro says, I'm 17 and dropped out. What should I do? Well, if you're interested in programming, learn as much as you can about programming. Try to get some freelance jobs, maybe with some small businesses, and build up your portfolio. And learn as much as you can on your own. Like, take the freeCodeCamp lessons, and you can still, get a good job. You can make good money from doing work like that. Shang says, the other day I was trying to set up Express.js as well as browser sync. Does it make sense to do both? I'm trying to make a site that uses Express.js at the back end. Yeah, Express.js would be good for the back end, but browser sync... Hey, cool, we passed. Sweet. So, we do register service worker. We respond with the 200 went offline. Awesome. So now we just need some icons and a splash screen. Cool. I guess I'll finish answering this since I started already. So as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone that is more familiar with this, but browser sync is going to allow you to get like auto refresh and see what's happening as you update things when you're in local development. Express is going to actually run your backend, like even in production, it's going to be the server, right? So you should be able to do both. I don't know that I've ever used browser sync with Express. I mean, usually I use Express in the context of React, and all that stuff's already configured because I'm either using Next or I'm using Create React App. By the way, Create React App 2.0 is out, so if anybody's used that and wants to let us know how it is, I'd be really interested to hear that. I actually can't wait to use it on the next project that I do. Alright, so let's try this out. So we need these icons. Let's see what icons we already have, because we do have a manifest.json already. Where did my code go? Oh, I'm all the way over here. Okay. So let's check out our manifest.json, which I have up here. Okay, so we have a short name, a name. We have some icons, but not all the right size icons. So let's see what we need. Okay, we need icons at least 192 pixels and at least 512 pixels. So let's add this in for now and see. Theme color background. Okay, so we have what we need there. Let's try to make some images. I wonder if there's an automatic generator. Let's say Progressive Web App icon generator. Sweet. See? I knew it. It had to be out there somewhere, right? So we'll choose the file. Great. And then we'll get all these files. There's got to be a logo. See if I have a logo file. I don't want. Let's check in downloads. CI logo. I gotta have a logo in here already, right? I have favicon. What is that? Okay, this will actually work. Yeah, that'll work. Let's use that desktop. JPEG. Alright. It's not really that big enough. We'll see how this goes. Might need to find a bigger image. Yeah. 0 padding. Alright. Let's see what happens. I don't know why. Why do I have the box checked for Windows Phone? Does anybody have a Windows Phone? Oh, hey, Harshit. Thanks for joining and stopping in for a little bit. I appreciate it. So see you next time. Wait, what happened? It's not spinning anymore. What just happened? Okay. Evidently that is not working. Well, let's try another one because there are a bunch on the list. Cool. Alright, so let's check out these app images. Alright, cool. I think we have all the sizes we need. I'm gonna see if I can just drag them over here to our static files. Put them right here, maybe in our images folder. Okay, it would not let me copy and paste them. Let's see if I can drag them. Alright, cool. So we have all these icons now. Let's see if it gave us... It did not... I was hoping it would automatically give us what we needed. Okay. That's alright. We'll be able to put this in here. Let's go to our manifest.json and just switch this up. I'll leave these, and then let's just add in these sizes, or whatever ones they said we need. So we need at least 192. So here we have a 192. And that is static image icon 192, 192. Let's see if this will... Wow, that copied everything. I don't need everything. Okay, so we have that, and then this one will be our 512. And we'll copy this. Oops, I mean copy the path. Just pop that in. Get rid of this. Okay, wonderful. Alright, I'll leave the rest of these sizes in here just for now, in case we want to add those in. But otherwise, probably a good idea just to clean them up, so overall there's less size to the to what gets uploaded to the server. Okay, that looks good. To make sure that was it, 150 or 512 and 192. Let's see what the manual checks are. Page transitions don't feel like a block on the network. Each page I think you're all okay. That should be all right. So let's run this again. So we're going to run this, and I'm going to answer some questions while that runs. Let's check my timer, and we'll give it a check. We'll run our Lighthouse again, and then the final test will be I will actually try to load it on my phone, and you all can do the same too, because I'll copy and paste the URL. Hey, that was fast. Oops, you know what? I need to stop my... I need to stop my local server before I do that, because it could mess up the build. So we're going to run that again. But anyway, I'll give you the URL. You all can test it out on your devices and see if it actually works. And so if it works in Lighthouse and it actually works on a device, then I'd say mission accomplished. VWeb says, "Hey Jesse, I am a beginner in React. Should I take any paid courses?" You could. It depends on your finances, right? If you can handle paying for a course, then there are some good courses. The Udacity React Nano degree is really nice because you have people that will review your code for you and let you know what you need to do to make it pass or to make it better. So that's very valuable. There's also, like, I just went to an advanced React training from Ryan Florence, and that was also helpful as well. But you don't need to. Most of my React training has been free, videos, tutorials, and just reading documentation. So it kind of depends on how much money you have and what your learning style is. Some people do a lot better if they're in a classroom setting with somebody talking to them. Other people do better just kind of learning on their own, and all different types. So that's more like a question that's going to depend on you personally. VWeb says, "What's the top state manager for React?" Redux for a long time was the answer to that question. But now, like, Apollo has state management built in. If you're using GraphQL, that's a good choice. There's the context API that's built into React now that can help you with state management. MobX is also good. So there's a lot more options now than there used to be. The follow-up to that was, which one is difficult? Context API, Redux, or MobX? Of the three, I would say Redux is harder to learn, but it's potentially the most powerful. So if you had a very large application that needed the power of Redux, then it might be worth it. But if you have something smaller, just use the built-in context API. And try out MobX and see if you like that too. It's also a good choice. All right, let's test this out. And I'm going to copy and paste this in here for you all. Okay, so the link is now there, and let's try out our Lighthouse audit. Let's try to console. Cool. No errors in the console. That's awesome. Run the audit, and I'll answer some questions while that's running. Manuel says, what's the best way to save my data from my database to my service worker? Well, you maybe not right to your service worker, but you could certainly use local storage in the browser. If you had a lot of data to work with, you might want to use something like PouchDB. So if you're familiar with CouchDB, Pouch is like the browser equivalent of that, and they can sync together in real time. So maybe check that out. There may be some other options out there, but that's what I would go to first. VWeb says, do you know backend programming? I do know some backend, mostly with Node. So we do like that whole server JS file, like that's backend stuff. Anthony says, what do you mean by progressive? So the term progressive web app is specifically a term that it's a web app that can work offline and then progressively enhances. So more and more features will become available as you have a better network connection. And so that's because it's progressive enhancement is where you get the word progressive from. So the basic things that your app can do should be able to be available offline when there's no connection, and then the full range of features could be available when you actually have a good connection. So let me know if that makes sense. Wally says, hi, hey, how's it going? Harshit says, so I asked Harshit earlier if the way I did it would work, and he said, yeah, that's not the Express.js way of doing it, but it works. All right, we'll do. I very much am a believer in when you first approach a problem, make it work first, then go back and do it right? So we'll make this work, and then we can always do it right later. Feel free to submit a pull request if it really bothers any of you and you want it to be done right. That's cool. Cool, so this passed. So now, let me try. I really don't want to type that in on my phone. I hope autocomplete handles this. If it doesn't, then I'm going to share this link with myself and so I can click it. So 2018. Hey, I think it did autocomplete. No, it was an earlier version. It's not the version I want. 2018, 118. Shoot. Alright, let me copy and paste this. I'm going to share it with myself with Google Keep because that syncs up really fast. Let me know if any of you have any luck getting this to run locally. I'm interested to see how much of it is actually available offline. So I'll probably put my phone in airplane mode after I load it and see what we can do. I didn't even think about this, but I already pasted this into the chat. I could have gone to YouTube instead of going to Keep, but on my phone. Oh well. Let's open this with Chrome. Alright, so I wish I could share my screen. Now what should happen, and maybe I would have had to have done something else to get this to work, but it should prompt me at some point to load this as a progressive web app. But I can't remember what point that's supposed to happen or if I need to do something else to make that happen. If anybody knows, let me know. Okay, so it hasn't prompted me yet, so I'm going to manually do this. So I'm just going to go in Chrome so I'm on an Android phone, and in Chrome I can go to the menu and there's an option that says add to home screen. So I'm going to do that option, add to home screen. And let's find it. So it is now on my home screen. So I should be able to click that and it'll pop up. Now here's the test. Let's put the phone in airplane mode. Alright, so my phone is now in airplane mode. I'm going to completely exit out of the app and I'm going to go back in and see if it still works. Alright, so some stuff still works. So the YouTube videos obviously don't load, which that makes a lot of sense. But I can still like click on the tabs, so I'll show you like what I'm seeing. So this YouTube videos doesn't work, but these tabs still work. The data's still there for the home page. The images are still there, so these images are there. Oh, but that needs formatted differently. All right, so that works. Now I'm going to try the menu. Menu works. Now, what I'm not sure about is when I click one of these, is anything going to happen? I'm going to guess and say nothing's going to happen. But let's see. Okay, yeah, I get an error that says it failed to fetch. Okay, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this out of airplane mode, and then I'm going to try to go to a few pages. Then I'll put it back on airplane mode, and I want to see if it will actually load then. So, what I want to see is, will it save these pages? Okay, so I've loaded 3 pages. Now I'm going to put it back on airplane mode. Sorry, I'm sorry if this is really boring for you all because you can't see it, but I don't have anything set up right now to share this. Okay, so I'm on airplane mode now. I'm going to go back to the home page and try to navigate again to the pages that I just went to. Interesting. Okay, so one page did save, but the other ones didn't. That's kind of weird. Okay, so I'm not 100. I have an idea why it did that, but I'm not 100% sure. So the only difference I could see is when I put this on airplane mode and I try to visit a page that used the link tag without the, I believe without the prefetching, somehow it worked. Like it cached that, but the menu. Let's go back to the code. I'll show you in the code what I'm talking about. So I remember it in my mind, but I'm sure it won't make sense to you all unless I can show you. So in the drawer menu, you can see we have this link URL, and then we put this as URL in as well. But in where's our index? So these are the ones that didn't save. It didn't work offline, even when we had loaded them online first. But where's our pages? There it is. But these ones did work. Where do we have them at? Index. All right, tab section. You go to tab section component. So in our tabbed section, we actually have, we're not even using the link tag. We're just using a regular link. So when I say the link tag, I mean it comes specifically with Next.js and allows you to do prefetching. So these ones stayed cached, but the other ones didn't. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but the home page still works offline, and at least some pages still work offline. So I'd say like I'm not 100% satisfied with that, but we have like very basic progressive web app functionality. So I wouldn't expect every piece of content to be available because that's just way too much, and I wouldn't want to load up all that stuff on somebody's phone and have it saved because they probably won't need it all. But there may be some basic content that always should be available, so maybe I'll have to figure out how to do that if that's possible, to just say I want certain pages to always be available. I'm not sure how to do that, but I assume it's possible. So that'll probably be the next step for me if I want to continue on with this. I'm not sure how much value there is in it right now. As far as I know, no one has really attempted to use the site like this yet. So if I can get some analytics or data to show that this is a feature that is being used, then it might justify me going in and trying to make it an even better experience. But in any case, we were so close to making it work, I thought it was worthwhile to just do that little bit extra to have this work as a progressive web app. So I'm going to go back and answer the remaining questions now. So if anybody is watching and you have any questions about anything at all, please feel free to ask them right now. I'll answer as many as I can. And just to let y'all know, I may do a live stream on my YouTube channel. The link's in the description. Either today or soon. I'd like to live stream my studying for the Google interview that I will have sometime at the end of this month. So I'll probably do algorithm challenges, and I'll talk through it as if I was in a real interview. So try to explain myself, explain possible solutions, and then you all can ask questions, and then once I finish the algorithm, I'll go and answer your questions. I think that'll help me to study, and maybe it'll help you all to see what kind of things you should be studying for technical interviews as well. So if you think you'd be interested in that, if you subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications, you should get notified of that. And I'd also like to put out a pre-recorded video of a review of the advanced React training that I did last week. Okay. I'm not sure where I left off, so let me scroll up and see where I left off here. Okay, I found it. Antonio says, "Hi, I'm new here. I don't know any programming language. Where should I start?" It depends on what you want to do, but JavaScript's not a bad place to start. It runs in the browser. You don't need any special thing to download on your computer. And there's a lot of beginner-friendly tutorials. You could try freeCodeCamp.org. Start out with their basics, and see if you like it. If you have something specifically in mind that you would like to do, then another programming language might be good for you. If you're into machine learning, maybe you want to go into Python. If you're really into, not slipping my mind, into like WordPress development, PHP might not be a bad idea, right? So it just really depends on what you're into. But if you have no idea, JavaScript's not a bad place to start. You can use it on the client and server side. So very versatile. VWeb says, which one is better, Ubuntu or Mac? I've only used Ubuntu on a server, so I haven't used like a desktop version of it, so I can't really compare. I will say in terms of servers, I would definitely prefer to use an Ubuntu server than a Mac server. I mean, does anybody use Mac servers for anything? I know they were a thing. I don't even know if they're used anymore. Has anybody used Ubuntu for a desktop and can share what you think about it as compared to a Mac? Nabil says hello from Algeria. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for watching. Hassam says I'm also from Algeria. Cool, 2 people from Algeria. Awesome. Belsabu says, what is the frequency of live coding with Jesse? It used to be, I try to do it every day. Now, not every day. So I try for like at least once or twice a week. Things have been different. So if you want to know what's going on with my work situation right now, watch the last stream, the beginning of the last stream, and I explain it all. But things have just been really different here recently, so that's been a lot of the reason why my coding has been not as steady. So just check it out if you're interested. Blessing says, I'm a beginner, so should I start with JavaScript or Python? I'm going to answer the same way I answered the last question about this. It really depends on what you want to do. JavaScript and Python, in my opinion, are both very easy to get into. Python may be even easier because of the fact that the syntax is really easy to pick up, and there's not a whole lot of special characters. But like if you want to do web development, then definitely learn JavaScript. If you're not sure, then maybe give Python a try. Itachi says hi. Hey, how's it going? Kavya says love from India. Thank you. Assam says, I really love how simple Python is, simple and powerful. Yeah, I mean, you gotta love the Python syntax, right? It just looks so clean. It is really fun. Oh, John says, since you're on a Mac, if you have an iPhone, you can copy on your Mac and paste from your iPhone if you have continuity enabled. Wow, I don't have an iPhone, but that is really cool. I did not know you could do that. My wife has an iPhone and a Mac. I'm going to tell her about that and see if she's ever used it. I have a feeling I'm going to tell her about that, and she's going to say, like, oh, you didn't know that? I've been using that for years. But I think that's really cool. I'm not going to switch to an iPhone. I like my Android, but that's pretty awesome. Manuel says you need to set up the service worker so it can load the pages. You can add pages service worker the ones you want. Oh, cool. You know what? I never scrolled down and read the rest of this. I bet you there are options. Yeah, I'll have to check that out maybe later, but it's possible that there are options for that here that I just didn't read about. VWeb says, what is the build system that you use for production build React app? I mean, Next.js has its own custom Webpack config, and it handles all the build, and then I send it to Google Cloud Platform, and it runs on their app engine. VWeb says, do you know Node.js? Yes, I do Node. We do a lot of custom routing, like form handling, file uploads, things like that with Node, making like API calls in the background. VWeb says, what are the best web technologies to learn right now? That really depends on your goal. If your goal is to be completely on the cutting edge, like doing cool stuff, then maybe you want to work with, I don't know, like WebAssembly and doing like web VR stuff, or trying to think what else there is out there. I mean, there's some really cutting edge, crazy stuff you can do on the web. If you want to get a job, there are a ton of React jobs out there right now. So I mean, it really depends on what you want. I mean, if you're going to be on the web, you need HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for sure. You can't go wrong with that. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. They've been around, almost since the beginning of the web. So go with those. And if you're a beginner, that should keep you busy for a while trying to learn those and master that. Beyond that, if you're looking at frameworks, there's still a lot of jobs with Angular. There's definitely a lot of jobs with React. I'm not sure how many jobs there are with Vue, but Vue is pretty popular, at least among developers. And then there's some older frameworks that there are still jobs for them. They're not really growing anymore, but things like Ember, there's still jobs for that. Neek says, can PHP build progressive web app or only JavaScript? Well, the key to a progressive web app is that service worker, which is a JavaScript thing because it runs client side. So you could have the back end be PHP, but you would still need to have that JavaScript service worker. So I personally have never seen a PHP progressive web app, but I've also never looked for one. So maybe they're out there. VWeb says, what are the best courses to take in Udemy to learn React? I don't know. I've never done a Udemy React course, so I can't help you with that. But if anybody knows of a really good one, please let us know. I mean, I'd be interested in it as well. Sergey says, is PHP still alive? It is still alive. I mean, there are evidently Laravel is a PHP framework that's getting a lot of modern updates. I heard it on a podcast recently. WordPress is still most of the internet, and that runs on PHP. So it's definitely still alive. Wareru, I think I pronounced that right this time, says, when should one use React Native or native code over progressive web app? If you have a website or a web app and your main audience is desktop users, but you'd also like to provide a little better experience for mobile users, I think progressive web app is good then. If your main audience is mobile, I would definitely go with React Native. You're going to have access to more of the features of the hardware on a phone than you would just using a progressive web app. So you're going to be able to build better phone experiences with React Native or just native code. So does that make sense? I mean, there's definitely going to be a line where you're not sure, but if there's some feature on a phone that you want to use and you can only use with React Native, then definitely that's where you're going to go. One of the things to keep in mind is if you don't need those features, it could take a lot of extra time and money in terms of paying developers to build out a native app. But if you already have the web app built, turning it into a progressive web app, we just did it here. It's not that hard to do. So you really have to measure how much value, how much benefit am I going to bring to the users? How much revenue is this going to bring in if we do a native app versus just progressive web app? So that's going to be a decision that's going to depend on those factors. VWeb says, are you a WordPress and PHP developer? I do stuff with WordPress. I know limited PHP to do what I need to do in WordPress, but I wouldn't consider myself a WordPress developer. My time spent coding is overwhelmingly in JavaScript. Sergey says, hi from Kiev. How's it going? Thanks for watching. Manuel says, I used Ubuntu every day, but if there's a reason why you want to learn, go for it, but it's a headache sometimes. Okay. Dungaree says, I like turtles. Do you like turtles? I do like turtles. Turtles are nice. VWeb says, I want to build a site like Facebook. Can Node.js, JavaScript handle that much traffic, or I need something else? I would say You can build it with Node and JavaScript, and if you ever end up with as much traffic as Facebook, you'll have enough money to rebuild it in whatever you want. So don't worry about that. Getting as much traffic as Facebook is that would be amazing. So you could probably build it with whatever you want at first, and you'll have plenty of time to refactor, rebuild by as you're on your way to Facebook-like numbers. Manuel says, what's your opinion with Angular? I think Angular is good. You can build good stuff with it. I happen to prefer React, but I haven't used Angular since Angular 1. So I don't think I can really give a good, well-informed opinion since I'm not up to date on the latest in Angular. Jerry asks if this is live. Yes, it is live. Quabe, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, says, Vue is so easy to learn. If you don't know Angular or React, go with Vue first, I would suggest. Okay, yeah, I have heard Vue is pretty easy. So, yeah, if you want to get started in something and build some cool stuff, then Vue does. I haven't used Vue, but it seems to be pretty popular and straightforward. VWeb says, how much time will it take me to learn MERN-stack? It depends entirely on how much you already know and how much time every day you can dedicate to learning and how quick of a learner you are. So it really depends on the individual. Bob says, can I use Django with Vue to have a real-time app? I suppose, right? I mean, Vue's just going to be your client-side stuff, so I suppose you could use it with whatever backend you want. Andre says, hi, what about Flutter? You know what, I know barely anything about Flutter, so I don't feel comfortable talking about it because I don't think I can give you good information right now about that. VWeb says, can I get a JavaScript job like React, Node, Express, Koa without a college degree? Yeah, definitely. At least in the United States you can. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but you can definitely get a JavaScript job without a college degree. VWeb says, should I go to college to take the time to learn coding on my own? Well, it depends, right? If you want to be a web developer, you don't necessarily need to go to college. If you want to get into more complex, like math-based things, so more complex computer science things, so some more of maybe the machine learning, then a computer science degree may help you more. And depending on what company you want to go to, certain companies value computer science degrees more than others. So check that out first before you make your decision. Jay on, not sure how to pronounce that. Let me know if I'm doing it wrong. But anyway, Jay on says, hi from the Philippines. Hey, how's it going? VWeb asks, how do I get motivation to code? If you're working on projects that you like, that will help motivate you. Once you start to get the hang of it and are able to do more, that will motivate you. But do what you need to do, like drink some coffee, do some jumping jacks, put on some music that gets you pumped up, right? Like help yourself out a little bit, Motivation is going to be different for different people, obviously, but the more you practice and the better you get, the more fun it's going to be. Because you'll be able to build cool things. You'll be able to think up something and build it, and that's awesome. So, more practice, I think, will result in more motivation, right? Unless you just completely hate coding. But then at least you'll know, and you can start looking to do something else. VWeb says, can I learn Angular, React, Vue in 2 to 3 months? Well, I mean, coding... the way I look at it is it's never like you're going to completely learn something because there's so many ways to approach problems in coding, and even these frameworks update frequently. So there's always new things to learn. So, could you get to a point where you could build, functional apps with those frameworks and libraries in 2 to 3 months? Yeah, definitely, you could. Would I consider someone an expert after 2 to 3 months? Probably not. But would I ever consider anyone as having learned one of those completely? No, I wouldn't. VWeb says, how did you learn coding, documentation, or online courses, and which one is better? It depends. Most of learning coding was is a mix of online courses and documentation, really. Usually when you're just starting out, documentation can be confusing because you don't have a lot of that basic knowledge to even understand what they're talking about. So an online course can be good to start out, but then once you start to get better with it, it's actually much faster to just go to the documentation and find exactly what you need than to try to do a course. So at this point, right now, unless I'm trying something completely new, I'd mostly look at documentation. And I remember whenever documentation was way too confusing to me, and my main source was online courses. So there'll be a shift that happens once you get proficiency with something. You know, once you get really good with something, I'm not saying I'm really good, but once you get kind of good with something, then you'll be able to understand the documentation more, and you'll find more value in it. VWeb says, are you in mobile development? I do React Native stuff, so not like mobile as in like Kotlin, Swift, Java, but React Native mobile. VWeb says, thanks. Yeah, no problem. They're all good questions. Serdna says, hi. Hey, how's it going? Bhakta says, hi, it's great to be live with you. Is a bootcamp 15 weeks the best way to learn coding? I don't know if it's the best. It depends on the boot camp and who's teaching it and what they're teaching and how you like to learn, right? And how much time you want to dedicate to it. So I really think that the success of any educational program does depend a lot on the actual student and how much time they're willing to put into it. So if the student is a really good student, even a terrible program can still be beneficial to them. But if a student doesn't want to put forth any effort, the great program is they're not going to learn anything. So it's definitely a mix. So do your homework and get a good program, and then put the time, and effort needed to do well in it, and then you'll be fine. But it's certainly it's not necessarily the best way. There could be other online programs that aren't a boot camp, self-teaching. So, there are options. Just, kind of try to figure out what's best for you, and like look back on your learning experiences and try to figure out what helped you the most, what you enjoyed the most, what you learned the most from. VWeb says, what should I learn beside coding to get a job in any big company? Communication skills are big, like writing skills, because you probably need to write documentation. You'll need to interact with team members, with clients. So those are always important. Do you use Flow in your project, and your attitude at static typing? I don't use Flow. Static typing, I think it could definitely be helpful and help you to write programs with less bugs. Okay, so I think if you have a really small project, sometimes it could be overkill, just in terms of, like, it's not 100% necessary to keep everything straight. But as soon as you start to get a bigger size project, I could definitely see the value in static typing. VWeb says, when do I know I'm good in React and can move to back-end development? When you can start building stuff, that's good. When you can build things that work, that are useful to people, then you're good, right? If you can convince somebody to hire you, then you're good enough, right? But you move to back-end when you need to move to back-end. If you need to build out your own back-end, then that's the time to learn it. And you could certainly learn React and backend at the same time. As you try to develop more and more complex apps, you'll need more complexity on the front and back end. Koabe says, I learned 30% of Vue from courses on Udemy, 60% on my own project, and 10% I will hopefully learn by improving my own project and doing other projects in the future. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it should be expected, right? Like, if you do a course or a boot camp or anything, like, don't make the mistake of thinking that, like, now you know it. It's time to move on. Like, now you know a little bit. you're going to learn much, much more by actually working on things. So you won't even be actively trying to learn. You won't be taking a course or anything like that. You'll just be trying to get through the day and build what you need to build or fix a bug. And you'll learn so much in the course of that without even realizing it. Like I've learned so much over the past year through these live streams of having to try to fix stuff, live and figure out what kind of pull requests are coming in before I merge them, and really like none of that had anything to do with an online course or boot camp or anything like that. It was just doing the work. It was, we need to do this thing. I've never done this thing before, so let's try to get it done. And that's like your entire career as a web developer or any type of programmer is going to be learning and doing. Just a constant cycle of learning and doing. Undefined Particle says, are you familiar with some place to look for challenges or projects to move from the basic to more intermediate level and let's say JavaScript? Yeah, you know what? I don't know what it's called or URL, but there are definitely there are websites and I believe GitHub repositories that have lists of potential projects that you could do. So I'd search for those. They're definitely out there. Porix says, I'm getting advanced in mobile app development, but I see big companies working on write once, run on any device, and with simple web code. Can I mention name? I'm not sure what Bhakta said, can I mention name? So I'm not exactly sure what you mean by the question. Porix says, I really wonder if what I'm doing is going to be valuable in the long run. What do you think? So you're saying you're learning native app development as opposed to something like React Native. And I think native app development is not going away, right? There are still, the majority of apps are still native apps. So I wouldn't worry about that. And those are actually some really high paying jobs. I frequently see native app developers, then the salary ranges are higher than web developers. PSVNL says, hello Jesse, I'm a junior web developer. I want to know that that competitive coding will help me develop better applications. It might, not necessarily. Competitive, I'm not that familiar with competitive coding. I guess it depends on what you're coding. If you're competing in who can do algorithms better, I doubt that it would help you that much. It would definitely help you in technical interviews, but web developers don't necessarily use a lot of algorithm type stuff, challenges and things. So I mean, it depends on what you're working on, but I'm not sure. I could be mistaken. Like I said, I'm not that familiar with competitive coding. Bhakta says, I learned a lot. Very grateful. Oh, I'm glad you learned something. So that's cool. Definitely stop back in for another stream. Sergey says, what level PHP knowledge do you need in the U.S. to get a job? I don't really know. I haven't ever really looked at PHP jobs, so I don't think I could give you a good answer on that. VWeb says, are you on any Discord server or any social websites we can connect with you? I have my own YouTube channel. It's linked in the description. I have Twitter that I believe is also linked in the description, and I'm on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, but I don't really do that much with it. So I'm most active on Twitter and Instagram. VWeb says, have you built any apps with React Native? Yes, I have. VWeb says, if I want to build Android and iOS apps, should I learn React Native or Java Swift? What will be better? You'll definitely be able to build apps for both platforms a lot faster if you go with React Native. Then you won't have to learn multiple languages. VWeb says, are you still learning new web technologies? Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I just got to use the new Suspense API that's not out yet last week at the React training. So I'm always trying to learn the latest stuff, or at least the latest versions of stuff like React. That's the job. You got to stay ahead, or else you'll stagnate. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think I would have fun at this if I just came in and did the same thing every day and didn't learn new things. That's part of the coolness of this job, is that it's always new, right? You always have new challenges, new problems, and you have to find out new ways to do it. And there are new tools out, so it's like you can solve even similar problems can still be different because you use better ways to solve them, better tools, better techniques. So I don't know. To me, that's really fun. Not everybody wants that. Some people want a job where you go in, you don't have to think, you put in your time, and then you go home, and that's when you live your real life. I've had jobs like that before. There is definitely a nice aspect to that. I can see how people could really, be fulfilled by that. But right now, I really love this, and for the last 6 years, I've loved doing this, and I have fun when I'm coding. Bhakta says, I've started with JavaScript, but not to advanced level. Now getting ready for boot camp where the work is mainly Ruby. Please advise. Hey, I mean, do your best and learn the Ruby, right? If that's what you're going to be doing in your boot camp. So learn that and, try to keep using JavaScript so you don't forget what you already know. Trollmaster says, I can't get hired because my real name on my birth certificate is Trollmaster. Oh, maybe you can change that, right? Or, maybe try to get hired at a place that likes trolls, right? Evidently, like, Reddit is full of trolls, isn't it? Maybe they'd hire you. I don't know. YouTube comment section is full of trolls. I would see if you could get in to build the UI for comments with Google for YouTube. Maybe that's the place for you. I actually never had problems with trolls on my YouTube videos. I wonder if just not enough people even watch them to care to comment, but almost all the comments I get are positive. And even the ones that aren't positive are still helpful. Ismail says, thanks for the good tips. You're welcome. Welcome. I'm hopefully they help some of you. VWeb says, thanks, Jesse. I learned a lot from you. You are helping a lot of people. Oh, thanks for saying that. I hope so. That's why I do these streams, and I will keep doing them as long as I can, as long as they are helpful to you all. So I've gotten through all the questions. We've had about an hour and a half of live streaming now, so I think now's a good time to stop. I may end up doing another live stream on my channel sometime today. We'll see how I feel. Live streaming does tend to take a lot out of me, and sometimes I lose my voice. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm not sure if I'll be able to stream any other time the rest of the week. I have interviews coming up, and my wife's having surgery, so I'll have to take care of her and the kids. So this may be my only stream for Free Code Camp this week. I'm not happy about that. I wish I would be able to stream more. But that's just how it is this week. So maybe I'll see y'all next week. Maybe I'll see y'all sooner. Either way, have a great day. Have a great week. And thank you so much for watching.